The courthouse in Flagstaff was filled to the brim. Reporters, devoted Browns fans, and mere curious onlookers all abuzz with excitement. The Browns had been a sideshow for decades, but this was different. Rumors circulated through the crowd like embers. Robyn Brown, Kody's darling wife, his alleged soulmate, could possibly lose everything. Within, the air was heavy with tension. Meri sat stiff and quiet, her hands clenched in her lap, her presence unyielding but silent. Next to her, Janelle, exhausted but unbreakable, had a stack of neatly managed documents within ready reach. Across the room, Kody and Robyn slumped together, faces weighed down, eyes desperate, attitudes trapped in a limbo between defiance and despair. Then, suddenly, like a clap of thunder, the verdict. The judge decreed that the property transfers that had been done in Robyn's name would be reversed. Meri and Janelle would recover their deeds. The ruling came down on the courtroom like a bolt of lightning. Robyn and Kody had 30 days to leave their opulent Flagstaff home. Robyn's accounts were frozen, her loans previously under wraps, brought into the open. Gasps coursed through the assembly, pens scrawled wildly across notepads, cameras flashed. Kody's face became beet, red as he jumped to his feet, yelling about betrayal, about witch hunts, cursing the judge, the lawyers, anyone who would hear him. But it didn't matter. Security escorted him out. The decision was made. Robyn, overcome, remained seated. Her hands shook. Tears streamed down her face. Her cries rang out louder than the commotion all around her. Outside, as the cameras snapped like thunder, Kody growled at the press in a broken, furious voice, while Robyn hid her face, crying. Meri and Janelle trailed behind them, their shoulders straighter than they'd been in years. Not victorious, not gloating. This wasn't revenge. It was restoration. It was dignity restored. 2 weeks after that, deputies showed up at the mansion with eviction notices in hand. Robyn's refuge, her victory symbol, now seemed cold, empty, and strange. She fell to the marble floor, her kids watching warily through the windows. Her eyes streaming, she wept. This isn't right. I gave up everything for this family, and now we're being discarded like trash. Kody rampaged through the house in a fury, slamming doors, cursing the system. But the rage was hollow now. His wives were lost. His children had wandered away. His money disappeared. And Robyn was losing even the fortress that had once rendered her unreachable. Movers lugged boxes out onto the driveway. The mansion, that symbol of power, was silent, but for loss and promises unkept. Robyn held onto Kody, weeping as he struggled to maintain the illusion of mastery. But Meri and Janelle, silently, relentlessly, experienced something like vindication. Years of sacrifice and abandonment, and now they had reclaimed what was their own. The media latched onto the meltdown. Headlines flashed across televisions and tabloids. Robyn Brown evicted. Meri and Janelle retake their house. Kody Brown's empire crumbles. Fans applauded what seemed like long-awaited justice. In the quiet of their car parked outside the vacant mansion, Robyn and Kody sat empty. The boxes were removed, the doors closed, their kingdom in shambles. Kody pounded the steering wheel, cursing about conspiracies and backstabbing. They turned everyone against me, he sneered. The wives, the kids, even the network. But Robyn, her voice broken and soft, whispered the reality he couldn't bring himself to acknowledge. No, Kody, this is what we did to ourselves. For once, her tears could not alter the outcome. For once, Kody had nobody to blame but himself. And in that ancient sandstone courthouse, whose walls had seen so many wars of love, deceit, and greed, the Browns' dynasty had finally collapsed. Under Robyn's eyes, mascara had streamed into dark crescents, her tissue now useless against the deluge of tears. Next to her, Kody sat up straight, hair disheveled, jaw clenched, his boot thunking the wooden floor with the ticking rhythm of a bomb. He was a man who stood about a second away from exploding. Then the judge walked in, a silver-haired lady whose eyes cut like steel, whose arrival hushed the gallery. This was the day everything came to a point. Months of testimony, subpoenas, bank statements, and deeds. Every devious move exposed. Judgment Day. "Y'all rise," called the bailiff. The courtroom rose, then subsided into a crushing silence as everyone sat down. The judge's voice held no warmth, no compassion. It was the sound of the law itself. She reviewed suspiciously directed assets into Robyn's name, unexplained property exchanges, and promises unkept to Meri and Janelle. Years' worth of financial reports outlined the picture plain: who had made sacrifices and who had gained, and then the punch. The actions were to be reversed. The property and possessions back to Meri and Janelle. Kody and Robyn had 30 days to vacate the Flagstaff property. Robyn's accounts would be frozen until all shadings of debt were scrutinized. The word struck like a stone to the chest. Robyn let out a cry, her body crumpling as if she had been hit. Tears ran freely, uncontrolled, as her children sat silently in the back. Faces shocked, eyes wide, as if the earth had parted beneath their feet. Kody leapt from his seat. His bellow echoed off the courtroom walls. "This is outrageous. This is a witch hunt. You are ruining my family. You are stealing what we created." His voice broke, rage giving way to desperation. The gavel came down once, a snapping crack. "Mr. Brown," the judge said, her tone unyielding, "I will not have tantrums in this courthouse. Sit down, or you will be taken out." But Kody continued raging, curls shaking, face flushed, pointing a quivering finger across the aisle at Meri and Janelle. "They've been jealous the whole time. You are giving them everything because they want to see us fail. I sacrificed for this family. Robyn sacrificed for this family." Security edged closer. At last, Kody slumped back in his seat, chest bumping, eyes blazing. Across the aisle, Meri took a slow breath. No smile there, only the faintest glimmer of vindication in her eyes. Janelle's palms were shaking as she shuffled through her papers, but her lips pursed in determination. They hadn't come to brag, they'd come for justice, and finally it was here. The gallery erupted when the gavel closed the session. Reporters boiled forward, cameras flashed. Kody shoved through the melee, yelling hoarsely of conspiracies and persecution. Robyn hugged him, weeping, her cries shrieking and animalistic, ringing through courthouse corridors. Meri and Janelle emerged moments later. Reporters swarmed them too, hungry for words, but they offered none. Their silence spoke louder than anything they could say. This wasn't about headlines, it was about freedom. Outside, the Arizona sun beat down upon a split plaza. The protesters and supporters fought, some with homemade signs, others yelling their rage or their ecstasy. On the courthouse steps, Robyn fell into Kody's arms, embarrassed and shattered, his face contorted with fury as he clutched her, his eyes looking about as if hoping to find someone, and Yong, to blame. In the distance, Meri and Janelle stood and watched, their folders folded tightly in front of them like shields. No smiles, no waves, just a swift walk to the waiting automobiles. Freedom, not victory, that is what this was. For Meri, entering sunlight was unreal. Reporters were calling out her name as if she walked a red carpet, cameras clicking without end, but she felt no glamour in there. She was empty, drained and still, for the first time in years. Peaceful, she didn't smile, didn't respond. She tilted her chin and continued to walk. For all that time she had been invisible, the ghost wife, all silence and sacrifice, while Robyn prospered and Kody's ego ruled. But today she was noticed. For the first time in decades, she felt that she counted. As she shut the car door, The outside noise faded away. Her heart continued to beat rapidly. Through the window, she could see Robyn in the distance, leaning against Kody, crying into the cameras that would transform her pain into tomorrow's headlines. Meri did not feel pity. She didn't feel victory. She only felt clarity. She recalled Robyn's first day home in the family, when Kody had talked about destiny, about soulmates, when he had declared Robyn to be his gift from heaven, and Meri, desperate to cling to her place, had signed the divorce papers with shaking hands, thinking it was sacrifice for the greater good of the family. But that sacrifice had never been acknowledged. Rather, it was the gradual stripping of her value. And today, looking tall in Arizona's sunlight, Meri at last saw that reality revealed. Robyn had taken up the position of legal wife, and overnight, the limelight trailed after her. Meri receded into the shadows, her voice growing fainter year by year. Each season saw Kody's love for Robyn growing louder, more resplendent, while Meri's role in the family dwindled to less, to silence. Her house seemed less full. Her talk with Kody grew fewer to nothing. Then there was the catfishing scandal. Her aloneness revealed to everyone. Robyn's sympathetic eye wounded more than cruelty, and Kody's indifference sliced more painfully than any insult. Meri was accused of being dramatic, toxic, self-centered, all because she wanted the most basic thing: to be noticed, to be loved. She suffered it all, holding her head high, weeping in the dark, telling herself she didn't deserve better. Now, in the hushed car with Janelle, she knew it. She had lingered too long. All those years of shame had brought her to this place. The verdict had restored to her more than property or wealth. It had restored her dignity, weighty, dense, irrefutable. For the first time in years, she felt solid. The quiet was shattered by Janelle's voice, soft but adamant. "We succeeded." Meri whirled, shocked. Janelle never wasted words, and these three bore the burden of mountains. Meri gulped, her throat constricted, pushing back the tears that scratched at her. Not now, not in front of Janelle, not in front of the cameras. This was a time of power, not weakness. That evening, Meri sat in bed, her phone ringing constantly with missed calls, reporters, relatives, supporters. She turned it face down and let the silence engulf the room. She found herself replaying Kody's face in the courtroom, contorted with rage, his finger pointing at her as if she were the antagonist. That same face she had loved more than life itself, that same voice she had believed above all others, now reduced to resentment and blame. She hugged the blanket close to her shoulders. For years, she had been helpless, as if things just happened to her. But today, the court's decision had inscribed proof into stone. She was not invisible. Her sacrifices had not been overlooked. Her truth had been heard, not only by her, not only by Kody or Robyn, but by the world. She whispered into the darkness, nearly to herself, "I was important." By the morning, the web was ablaze with headlines: Robyn crying, Kody enraged, Meri and Janelle exiting hand in hand. Social media overflowed with applause. It was called karma. It was called justice. It was called what it was: a long overdue reckoning. Meri didn't hear the gossip. She sat in silence at her window, coffee cup in her hand, watching the Arizona horizon change from pale pink to a vibrant, boundless blue. For the first time in years, she felt the horizon yawn open before her. Not controlled by Kody, not darkened by Robyn's tears. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't victory. It was freedom. Janelle was the practical one. Instead of discussing feelings and jealousy, she discussed budgets and timetables. She maintained the disorder of a plural marriage running smoothly, feeding children, paying bills, hanging on to the dream of property in Coyote Pass. She was the backbone, the anchor. But when the spoils were to be divided, she got nothing. The verdict hadn't made her cheer, but it had steadied her. She didn't flinch or weep. She simply let the words soak into her bones. Finally, her work, her sacrifices, her persistence, they had been recognized. It wasn't joy she felt. It was validation. Eventually, in her own small rental, Janelle laid out dog-eared notebooks and creased folders, years of patient keeping, mocked by Kody, invalidated as a waste of time. But it was those records that kept her alive. The slips from the bank, the bills, the detailed budgets, proof of a lifetime of denial. Her children had grown up seeing her stretch every dollar. She remembered the late nights, exhausted but determined, scraping together how to pay for braces, soccer uniforms, and 6 children's worth of bills, while managing to keep the lights on. Robyn's whims were catered to instead. Mansions, unlimited spending, a struggling boutique kept afloat by family funds. Kody always told Janelle to wait her turn. But her turn never arrived. The next day, the day after the verdict, Janelle phoned Madison, her oldest daughter. Her voice calm, she inquired how she was doing. Madison's reply broke something deep within her. "Mom, I heard it. Are you all right?" Janelle attempted to sound rational, but her voice trembled. "I am better than all right. I feel seen." Finally. A silence on the other end. Then Madison's voice, emotion clogged. "Mom, you deserve it." Janelle had always known in her heart that she deserved better than what Kody ever offered. But it wasn't until her daughter's voice pierced the silence that she felt the truth fully sink in. Madison's words weren't laced with judgment. There was something soft and proud and healing about them. And in that moment, Janelle realized how much she had dreaded this very conversation. She had shouldered the fear for all those years that her children would come to hate her, for remaining, for bringing them into a household that at times made them feel tiny. And here was her daughter, bringing relief she hadn't even known to carry. Her thoughts wandered back, as thoughts have a tendency to do, to Coyote Pass dust. She still saw Kody standing there, painting visions of expansive houses and one large family compound. He had told her of a legacy, of ground that would bear their future. Janelle had trusted him. She had invested her money, her credit, her own sacrifices into that earth. And when the title silently transferred to Robyn's name, she knew, before anyone informed her, that something was amiss. Kody's temporary measures had always sounded hollow. The court had now established her right. To her, the win was more than just about getting land back. It was validation. That all those years of service and devotion had not been wasted, that she wasn't silly for believing. But Janelle was not a celebrator. She had witnessed Robyn's tears in the courtroom, the shame in her lowered eyes. She recalled the endless nights when she herself had tossed and turned, thinking how in the world she'd contribute to the mansion that Robyn lived in. Sympathy came easy but had its boundaries. Her mind went, ineluctably, to Kody. She had loved him once, with all passion. She had stood up for him, she had believed in his vision, she had trusted his direction. But she saw the truth, watching him stand in that courtroom, shrieking like a trapped animal. He was not a man of vision. He was a man of ego. He had traded her steady loyalty for Robyn's tantrums, her quiet power for Robyn's drama. He had built his kingdom on promises, and he alone had destroyed it. That evening, Janelle walked onto her tiny patio. The desert night was crisp, the sun setting behind streaks of orange across the mountains. For the first time in years, she was silent. No crying, no yelling, no producers clamoring for more drama. Just silence. And in that silence, tranquility. She whispered into the big sky, nearly to herself, "This time, I can rebuild, for me." The world beyond was a din news channels, repeated Robyn's fall, Kody's fury, Meri and Janelle's walkout in tandem. Talk shows analyzed every look, every tirade. Social media was filled with responses, teasing Kody, cheering for Janelle. But Janelle didn't see. She had her tea, her calendar, and a new existence to map out. An existence that for the first time after so many years was hers, and that was sufficient. The next morning, the courthouse and Flagstaff was full, all benches crammed with reporters, onlookers, even distant relatives craning forward, anticipating the last word. The trial was a show, a torturously slow public disassembly of a family previously held up as a model. Kody's blind devotion, Robyn's dubious finances, the evidence that Meri and Janelle had brought to light. Robyn sat shuddering at the defendant's table, holding a tissue. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes snapping at each groan of the doors, still hoping for Kody to come in. But the chair next to her was vacant. Meri sat across the room, straight posture, unshakable presence. Next to her, Janelle, tranquil, determined. Manipulation had bound them in silence for years, but now they stood as comrades, as survivors reclaiming what was lost. The judge's voice cut the thick silence. This court rules in favor of the plaintiffs, Meri Brown and Janelle Brown. Gasps spread throughout the room. News reporters' pens scratched hotly, several of them dashing outside to deliver the news. The judge spoke again, his words heavy with finality. Ownership of the Coyote Pass property and accounts returned. Robyn allowed 30 days to vacate the Flagstaff house or face eviction. Robyn's mouth dropped open, her head shaking in horror, as if denial could reverse the verdict. No, it can't be right, she whispered, her voice cracking. Kody told me it would always be ours. For the first time during the trial, Meri turned to her. No victory in her eyes, just decades of pent-up anguish finally having a voice. You constructed your future upon our sacrifices, she whispered. Now it is all out. Janelle did not even look Robyn's direction. She moved closer to her lawyer, double-checking the facts of transfer. For her, this was not revenge. This was justice. This was survival. The gavel came down hard and absolute. Reporters descended on her like a swarm of locusts, firing off questions. Robyn, how does it feel to lose everything? Meri, Janelle, what is next for you? Where is Kody Brown? But Robyn hardly noticed them. The dynasty she believed impregnable had just fallen around her ankles. The world outside didn't just break down around her. It disintegrated in slow motion. Chimeras flashed on the courthouse steps as she stumbled forward, hiding her face. Robyn was completely alone for the first time since becoming a part of the Brown family. Meanwhile, Meri and Janelle walked side by side, their shoulders brushing, their bond forged in fire. They paused under the blinding Arizona sun, silent, letting the light soak into their skin, and then Meri raised her hand, her voice cutting through the roar of reporters. We've said what needed to be said in court. Truth had been the battle, and truth had won. Only a few feet behind, Robyn turned towards them. Her hair was stuck to wet cheeks, mascara tracing its way down, a tableau of disintegration. She knew it wasn't over. Not by a long way, with Kody out of the picture. She had no money, no place to go, no armor. The women whom she used to call weak had just won in ways she could never have imagined. That evening, in front of her Flagstaff residence, the February wind howled across the blackness. The stormy sky hung low and gray with an oncoming tempest. Robyn slept little. Her thoughts recurred to the courtroom. The judge's icy tone, the gavel's unforgiving crash. The court decides in favor of Meri and Janelle Brown. She held on to hope. Perhaps there was a loophole. An appeal, perhaps Kody would burst through the door, larger than life, like the man she once thought she knew. But the knock that came was not his. She had her porch. On the porch stood a deputy sheriff, badge shining in the dismal light, papers clutched in hand, Before a word was uttered, her gut dropped. She knew. The notice was direct, irrevocable. Mrs. Brown, you are to vacate this property in 4 hours. You no longer own the house. The words hit like blows. Her knees almost buckled. This is my children's home, she whispered, her voice cracking, pleading. But no mercy was possible. The deputy handed her the envelope with soft sympathy, then disappeared into the blowing ice. She leaned against the door, paper as heavy as a stone in her hand, her heart thumping through the deserted hallways, her children's laughter upstairs, the mocking echo of innocence, Ariella's artwork still stuck to the fridge, Solomon's Lego tower, Aurora's secret poetry book. How could she return to them? How could she tell them of the world she had assured them of collapsing? Her brain seethed with recollections of Meri and Janelle. They used to be sisters. They ate together, sat for family grins, but in reality, they had waited, watched, planned their return, and now they had triumphed. She stumbled into the living room, wedding portraits on the mantel, family photos where she insisted on being at the center. She remembered the midnight whispers, telling Kody to guard their future. But the whispers had become knives. She had nothing, the house, the money. Even Kody, trapped in his own remorse, no longer hers. Her hand squashed the notice of eviction. Anger and terror churned within her. The castle she constructed on tears and manipulation was falling apart, and this time, nobody would bail her out. Meri and Janelle had walked away. Christine had been gone for a long time. Even the other kids regarded her as an outsider. Her weeping echoed through the empty house, rough and frayed, thunder crashing outside like a hard drum. 3 days, that was all she had. And when they were over, Flagstaff waited. On a crisp morning, with boxes piled high and hopes abandoned, Robyn pushed open the door. Court officers waited, a locksmith beside them. Mrs. Brown, one spoke firmly. Time to go outside. Her breath caught, her fingers trembled. She recognized that struggling was futile. The documents had been signed, the time limit had expired, and Meri and Janelle's lawyers ensured the order would hold. The metallic jangle of the locksmith's tools echoed like a death knell. Passers-by looked on from their windows, their phones aloft, capturing every moment. Robyn Brown emerged carrying one bulging duffel bag, her life down to near zero. She had felt the pain before anybody had even opened their mouth. There were cameras everywhere. Paparazzi staking out, locals with their cameras clicking away, each lens capturing the fissures in the perfection she had spent years constructing. The saintly wife, the savior of the Brown clan, that fantasy was over now, destroyed in the most public manner imaginable. Across town, in a law office quiet as an underground bunker, Meri and Janelle sat together. Janelle's voice was firm, heavy with years of deception. She is not there? The attorney nodded slightly, a flicker of pleasure. As of this morning, the locks are changed, the titles are yours. It is done. Meri smiled back, lips curling up with the faintest smile. It had taken years since she'd felt even a whisper of power. Years since Kody had eroded her position within the family. And now, for the very first time, the positions were reversed. But it wasn't sweet triumph that filled her chest. It was something much more complex: grief, vindication, and a sharp pain for all she'd lost. She could still remember those endless nights, seeing Robyn and Kody construct their tiny kingdom right before her eyes, and with each recollection came the bite of silence, of secrets, of trust broken. Revenge was no longer the issue. This was about getting back what was hers. Meanwhile, at the house, Robyn stood helplessly as movers carried away the last of her belongings. She clutched her youngest child to her chest, whispering promises she didn't believe herself. "We'll be okay. Mommy will figure this out." But her voice cracked, betraying the truth. She had no idea what to do, no idea where to go. Kody had become cold, remote. His fury seethed just below the surface, erupting in bitter curses. He blamed everyone but himself. Meri, Janelle, the courts, even the children. And when the door finally slammed behind Robyn, she was no longer queen, no longer chosen. She was what Meri and Janelle had always said she would become: alone, powerless, forgotten for the first time. Robyn understood. No crying her way out of this one, no charm to woo him back, no safety net left to catch her. The empire was fallen, and in the ruins stood Robyn Brown. She spent that evening slumped in the back of a rented car. The desert twilight colored the sky in bruised shades of purple and gray. Her phone pulsed in her shaking hands, streaming with tears. 6 calls to Kody so far, each going straight to voicemail, each unanswered. Her heart constricted as she called again, speaking softly into thin air. "Kody, please, I don't know what to do. They took the house, the kids. I need you. I need us." The crushing silence that followed. No answer, no reassurance, just the reverberation of her own desperation. Across town, Kody walked the vacant mansion that was once theirs, or at least he thought it always would be. Now it was vacant, save for the sound of their fight echoes. Robyn had lost everything she owned, but Kody, he lost something even more important: his pride. A tumbler of whiskey in one hand, he scrolled through Robyn's panicked texts, each ping cutting deeper than before. He hated the sound, hated the reality glowering at him. And when he finally answered her call, his tone was level, devoid of warmth. "Robyn, what do you want?" Her throat constricted, her voice shaking. "Kody, no," he interrupted. "I'm done. It is over." She attempted to beg, her words cracking. "We have children, Kody. You can't just—" "I can," he growled. "The court has made its ruling. You're on your own now." Her body slumped against the seat, a scream trapped in her throat. She had lost him, the man she believed in, the man who promised forever, gone, cold, absolute. "I don't understand," she breathed. "You will?" Kody answered, his tone an ear, whisper. "This is the way it has to be. Everything's gone, take care of it." And then the line died. The silence shattered her. Tears flowed unchecked as her children clung to her, frightened and bewildered. She had no ally in her husband, no house, no home. The world she had believed untouchable had disappeared in an instant. Meri and Janelle, however, didn't waste any time. Accounts locked down, deeds signed, property retaken. All the pages of the Coyote Pass estate now bore their names. They knew victory wasn't only in the courtroom, it was about what you did after. And Robyn, she had nothing. No plan, no protection, no hint of her formerly untouchable position. The facade of being the company's #1 wife had vanished. For the first time, Robyn Brown was left naked, beyond her house, her money, her fidelity, and in that instant, the saga of the Browns had at last been turned on its head.